When I first landed in Lima, Peru, I thought I made a huge mistake. From the air, the city looked rough, and around the airport, even rougher. But as I started to drive down the coast, I started to fall in love with it. And in this video, I'm going to share why. The first thing that I loved was the city in and of itself. For starters, there's Miraflores, and this is like a very modern part of the city. It honestly feels like any Canadian or US city. Like, it's very up to date, and a lot of buildings look very nice and well put together. Like, one of my favorite things of Miraflores was going to the Locomar Mall. Like, I'm not very into going to malls, but this mall is super cool. It's built into a cliff. It has multiple levels in it, and it even has like a movie theater and a gym in it. Like, the gym that I went to was in the mall, and it overlooks the ocean, and it's just a very pleasant spot to go. It also had some very nice restaurants that I enjoyed going to. I also enjoyed going to Kennedy Park in Miraflores, and this was kind of near my grocery store that I went to, so I would go for a stroll through there. Sometimes there's art in it. There's a lot of people in it most of the time, and it's just a very peaceful spot to go that has some Peruvian culture to it. I also loved Barranco, and I was in between both Miraflores and Barranco. Like, I was right on the border, on the Barranco side of the border, but I was able to get the best of both worlds where I was living. And I loved how Barranco had like modern buildings still, especially when you walked along the water or were right on the border with Miraflores. But if you wanted a little more variety, you could walk down a few back streets and see some very cool houses. There's some super cool artwork here too, and all the restaurants and cafes had a different vibe. Like, the ones in Miraflores were very much like Canada or the US, but the ones in Barranco had like a local vibe to it. So I could go to those ones, and I definitely loved exploring those bars and the restaurants there too. Both Barranco and Miraflores have a boardwalk that goes all along the water, and I loved walking along this boardwalk, especially at sunset, but any time of day. It was just very peaceful and was the best part of my day. Another thing that I loved about Lima was all the bike lanes. Like, I got an electric scooter when I was in Peru, and I was able to ride it until the battery died. I could go for miles just along this boardwalk that I was just talking about, but also like I could go to my grocery store on this electric scooter, and I could rip around parks with it. And I really enjoyed having like this infrastructure that I could use with this electric scooter. Like, it's definitely a good city to have a scooter or bike because you can really see a lot of the city this way. One of my favorite parts about Lima was when my parents came down to visit me. We went down to the Lima main square, and this spot had very cool architecture. We ended up touring through like a monastery and stuff, and there's a lot of like old buildings down here that were like government buildings and just old buildings in general that were extremely cool to look at, as the architecture there was just incredible. Now, this next section is about lifestyle and convenience of Lima. One of my favorite things about Lima is how convenient everything is because of how walkable the city is. Within the block that my building was on, there were multiple small grocery store or convenience store options that you could go to that had the basic necessities like toilet paper or water or some small meals. And there were also a ton of cafes and bars and restaurants that I could walk to. Some people may not want to walk around at night because of the safety concerns, and that's totally fair. I was like that at first, but as I got familiar with my area, I started to feel comfortable walking around at night and was completely fine. And with all these bars and restaurants so close, I didn't have to go very far to get to one. But when I was using Ubers every day to get to bars and restaurants, I loved how cheap they were. Like, I could go like a 10-15 minute Uber ride and pay next to nothing. Like, it was literally under $10. So it's unbelievably cheap to take an Uber, and this made things so convenient and increased my lifestyle a ton as a nomad. Aside from Ubers, everything else was extremely cheap too. Like going to the grocery store or restaurants or bars, everything was extremely affordable. I was able to live like a king for next to nothing. Like the lifestyle that I live here in Canada doesn't come anywhere close to the lifestyle that I was able to live in Peru. Even the building that I was in Peru, I would not have been able to afford the rent for that building back home. It would have been like 2 to 3 times more. And when I was in Peru, I was able to afford it, and this allowed me to swim on like a rooftop pool and overlook the ocean and the city. And it was just an incredible lifestyle that I was able to live. So even that aspect of it just made the lifestyle that I lived down in Peru incredible. Like I couldn't have asked for anything better. Another thing that I loved about Lima was the food and the drinks there. Like I never had a bad meal the entire time that I was in Lima. Everything was just incredible. Like if I went to a restaurant, the drinks would come out with like steam all around them. Or the one I ordered a cake and the guy poured like chocolate on like this chocolate dome that was over the cake, and it like melted the other chocolate over, and the presentation was just amazing here. Alongside that, the taste was incredible too. Like every dish tasted amazing, every drink tasted amazing, and I haven't had anywhere else in the world beat it. Like I went to the Marriott in Peru with my cousins, and this is honestly an expensive meal. Like I think we paid $500 between the drinks and the food that we ate between the three of us. But the oysters there were incredible. And like they're the biggest oysters that I've ever had. And honestly, I'm not a big seafood guy, but the seafood here was incredible. And on the days where I didn't want to order seafood, there were tons of options that weren't seafood that I could order. The next thing that I absolutely loved about Peru was the atmosphere and vibe. Like I love the Latin American vibe. The people selling newspapers at a stoplight or drinks to your taxi or your Uber driver. A lot of people hate this, but I love it for some reason. The people who are harassing you to get in their taxi or to go eat at their restaurant, all that haggling. For some reason, I just love it. Even the traffic is wild there. Like there was a few times where I thought my Uber driver was going to get out and fight the guy. They were always mouthing each other off. Like one time I was at a roundabout in the back of an Uber, and we're getting cut off by a bus and a transport truck. And our Uber driver was yelling out at the transport truck driver, who was leaned over his wife, yelling at the window at him. And this is just one of many experiences that I had in the traffic there. That said though, the locals in Peru were very friendly and very welcoming, so I love that about Peru. The weather's incredible for 6 months of the year. 6 months it sucks, but the other 6 months it's sunny and there's never any rain, and it's just amazing weather for going out and doing stuff. One thing that I didn't think that I would like in Peru, but I ended up loving, was the Incan culture there. Like there's ruins all throughout the city. There's obviously Machu Picchu, but there's a ton of other ruin sites that are outside of the city, and I just found it very cool to learn about all that history and go to the museums and just the culture in general. I kind of fell in love with when I was there. Like even walking down the street, you'd see traditional Peruvian dresses that were super cool to see, and it just really made it a unique place to stay. If you enjoyed this video and are thinking of going to Peru, then definitely check out this video right here, as it's the ultimate nomad guide for nomads in Peru, and don't forget to click subscribe.